Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about 10 tips for you before you go on your first or next NCL cruise. Right after this. Hi everyone, John here from Bite Size Cruises. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk all about Norwegian Cruise Line. We're going to give you 10 tips if it's your first or if you're just going again on NCL, but maybe you don't know all the little ins and outs and intricacies. We're going to try to help you out a little bit. So, tip number 1 is solo cruisers rejoice. Norwegian does a really good job of catering to solo cruisers. They have studio cabins, which don't cost you the double occupancy. If you've ever been on a cruise by yourself before, you know that cruise ships, like everywhere else in the world, kind of judge everything on double occupancy. So you're basically paying for 2 people in a room. Now, if you go on a cruise and you get a solo cabin, like an inside or a balcony, you're going to pay basically the same price 2 people would pay, with the exception of not paying for the taxes and port fees that the second person would pay. So if it'd be $2,500 for your friends, say it's a couple to go in a balcony, it's going to be likely somewhere around $2,100 or $2,200 for you as a solo, which kind of sucks. So Norwegian has been the kind of leading push for solo cruisers. So on the Breakaway Plus class ships, there is a studio lounge, which is basically, or actually a whole studio area, which is basically like 3 floors of the ship or 2 floors of the ship on some of the ships, where they have in the middle of the ship, key card access only, just for solo cruisers, are studio cabins. They are small cabins, but perfect if you're by yourself, right? You don't need a ton of room. If you don't get claustrophobic being in an inside cabin, they're great. Has a studio lounge where you can hang out, meet some other solo travelers. There's snacks there all day. It's a really nice option. And it's something, if you are sailing by yourself and maybe you want to go meet some other people and kind of get out, or you just want to get away for a little bit and not pay the full price, that's tip number 1. Book a studio cabin on an NCL ship. Tip number 2 is they have these beautiful private islands. They have 2. So they have Harvest Cay, which is in Belize, and they have Great Stirrup Cay, which is in the Bahamas, right across from Perfect Day at Coco Cay. So you can jump off your ship and swim over to Perfect Day. I'm just kidding. They won't let you on Perfect Day, and it's dangerous to swim. So anyway, they do have these 2 private islands. Number 1, Harvest Cay in Belize is not set up like your typical cruise private island, so you can't use your key card for a lot of things on shore. So that's one thing. Number 2, Great Stirrup Cay, or Key, as it should probably be pronounced, but it doesn't rhyme as well as Perfect Day at Coco Cay, is not a pier that has a dock. So it only has a tender port. So just as a kind of tip, so you're aware, if you want to get out and get to that island early, make sure you get your tender number early in the evening the night before, and that way you will be prepared to get over there early. Otherwise, you know how it is with tenders. It takes a little bit of time. They can only take 100, 150 people, whatever it is, on each of those boats at a time. So it's not as easy as getting off at Perfect Day, where you just kind of walk off the ship and walk to the island, or Ocean Cay on MSC. So just things to be aware of. Just a little tip, if you are getting off on the private island, be aware of that. Number 3, NCL has really fun theme parties. So maybe you want to dress up for those. So a little tip is get your clothes ahead of time. You know they're going to have a glow party, they're going to have an 80s party, and they may have a white party. So those are the 3 things to be prepared for. If you are going on an NCL cruise, get your gear, get ready, and get out there. It is really fun if you get out there for the glow party. They give out the glow sticks. In the newer, bigger ships, it's in Spice H2O or on the pool deck, and it's just a ton of fun. I can't recommend it anymore, and it is really fun to get dressed up. I thought it was going to be really silly, and we had a great time. We've done it on Royal for 70s night, and check it out for 80s night. It's really, really fun. Next up is when you get on the ship, you could take a free tour of the spa. So I recommend you taking a free tour of the spa. One of the things you're going to see on some of the newer style ships is the thermal suite. I love the thermal suite. Here's the problem. It's a pro and a con. Sometimes the thermal suite 7-day pass is very expensive. We just looked on, we're going on Joy in a few weeks. It's $300. That's not worth it to me. If it's around 200, 180, something like that, definitely worth it. It gives you a little private oasis. They don't take a ton of memberships, for lack of a better word. They don't sell many of those passes. So you do get the like private deck chairs that are inside. It's inside, of course. But you have these beautiful views out the front of the ship. You have a therapy pool in there that's really nice. You have hot tubs. You have sauna, steam room. You have little chairs that you can lay on, heated benches. A bunch of really nice perks that I think are really worth it if it's the right price. But take a tour. Sometimes at the end of your tour, they will offer you a discount or offer, even if you get like a spa treatment, you can go in the thermal suite that day. So things like that to look for on your next cruise. Make sure you take a tour of the spa on day one. Our next tip number 4, I think this is on the Breakaway, Breakaway Plus, and Prima class ships, which are most of like the ships that have been built in the past 10 years. Breakaway, Getaway, Encore, Bliss, Joy, Escape, Prima, Viva, all of those ships. You have the ability to use the Waterfront. The Waterfront is on deck 8. It wraps around the whole ship on the Prima class ship. It is expansive. There's infinity pools off the side of the ship. There's infinity pools at the back. It's really, really incredible. The local on the back of the ship on Prima is incredible with places just to hang out. You are so much closer to the water than you are on most cruise ships. You know, most cruise ships have the pool decks at the top, which they do. But adding that element on deck 8 makes you really close to the sea, and it's really spectacular. There's restaurant, outdoor dining there. I really, really recommend it. It's a ton of fun. Take advantage of those spaces. At this time, we'd like to ask everybody to please subscribe. Trying to hit 4,000, not 400, 4,000 subscribers, which is crazy, by the end of this month. We really appreciate it. It helps the channel a ton, and it makes us feel good because some people are actually watching our videos, which is great. Next tip is download the app. Now, not only do you download the app, download it and use it before you get on the ship. That way you get really familiar with how the app works, the kind of look and feel. It will change once you get on the ship because then you'll be able to kind of book reservations, do all of those fun things. But download it and kind of just get familiar with it before you get on the ship so that you are prepared and ready to go. Next tip is look at each ship individually before you book an NCL cruise. There are some slight variations and some huge variations, and you have a lot to choose from. So if you prefer a smaller ship experience and just want to go to Bermuda for a few days, maybe the Pearl, maybe Getaway or Breakaway, which are really big, but they're not as big as like Oasis of the Seas or anything like that. If you love big ships where there's a lot of entertainment choices and there's go-karts and all these other crazy things, look at some of the really larger ships. And then if you want something really modern and new, maybe Prima or Viva coming out. And all of these ships are going to have different itineraries, different things going on, different shows. Maybe you want to see Footloose before it gets canceled in October. Maybe you want to see Beetlejuice the musical, so you're going to go on Viva. Look at each of those ships. Each of them has their own little personality. Even Breakaway and Getaway, which are basically the same ship, have a really distinct feel between the two ships. So that tip is really kind of look at what ship features, itineraries, and what things are best for you before you book your next NCL cruise. Next one is make sure you make reservations for restaurants, shows. We just talked to somebody recently that went on an NCL trip and they had a really terrible time because they couldn't book all of those things after they had been on the ship for a little while. They didn't realize that they had to make reservations for shows and different things. It's also a great reason to use a travel agent. So keep that in mind when you're looking at things, and make sure either pre-cruise or as soon as you get on the ship, you make any reservations that you really want to make. It's really important. We want to make sure you have a great time on your trip. Next up, a really big tip for you is Norwegian is slightly different than most other cruises. They use this kind of methodology and this theme throughout all of their ships, which is freestyle cruising. They've pioneered this mentality, which means there's really no rules on your cruise. There's no strict dress codes. There's no strict dining times. You don't get first or second sitting for dinner. You can go to different restaurants. There are tons of food options. Here's my big advice when you're looking at that. Again, we just talked about making reservations. Really look at everything before you get on the ship. Look at the menus for all the restaurants. You could find menus on Norwegian's website. You could find them all over the internet, different menus. Look and see when the shows are going to be playing and get a real feel for what people wear. You will see a lot of people on Norwegian. It doesn't come across to me as like a sloppy thing, the freestyle. It's more of like just a chill thing. You see way more people in jeans and like a polo than you would in like a shirt and tie. So it is a little bit more relaxed. It is a lot of fun. There are no real strict rules, but that does create a little bit of chaos. Say if you go to dinner at 6:30, it's going to be very crowded. You're going to wait a long time at some of the places. They'll give you a little beeper, but that's also a good reason to explore some of the other dining options like specialty dining, where you definitely need to make reservations, and some of the other free options like Oceans or the Local, which also get crowded, just not as crowded as like the main dining rooms, Taste and Savor, or other ones on other ships. So our last tip for NCL is remember that NCL has free at sea. A lot of people talk about free at sea and they think it's like this huge expense added onto your cruise. You will see the difference between your just sail away rate, which is like no frills, just your cruise, and the free at sea. What does the free at sea include? It includes your drink package for everyone in the room that gets the free at sea. It includes specialty dining credits for guests 1 and 2. And it could be 1, 2, or 3 specialty dining credits based on how long your cruise is and the category of your cabin. Inside cabin on a 7-day cruise is going to get 1 specialty dining. That's 1 meal, 1 dinner. The drink package, really all you're paying for is gratuities. So it's going to be like $100 and some for that. It's going to be $20 or $30 for your specialty dining. You also get a $50 port excursion credit per port, 1 per room. So if you're going to Bermuda for 3 days, you would get, technically it's 2 full days, so you would get 2 $50 excursion credits. Like there's 1 per day there. If you're going to Bahamas, Bermuda, you would get 2 as well. But if you are going to, if you have 4 people in your room and you're going to Bermuda for a day, you're not getting 4 credits. You get 1 credit per room per port. And you can use that for whatever you want to use it for. It's not a free excursion. It's just $50 off that excursion. So if you did a $120 excursion, it would drop down to $70. You also get 150 minutes of Wi-Fi, which doesn't seem like a ton, and it's not. But it might be enough for you if you're just checking in a few times at home during your cruise. And then another big one that I think people don't realize is that they do offer a lot of times buy one, get one air. Now, here's what I will say. I never recommend using this benefit. I just had a couple go on a European cruise. We did a 2-day air deviation, which means you can book 1 or 2 days previous. So you could fly early, no problem. And we had a really big issue. They kept changing the flights, which Norwegian can do. It wound up at the end that the husband and wife were on 2 different flights. That's very rare. It doesn't happen a lot, but it happened. And you will also see that if you're not staying in a room, like if you're in a room and you're, say, you and 1 kid are in one room, your wife and maybe 2 kids or 1 kid is in another room, you could be on separate flights. There is no allegiance. Norwegian will do what's best for them. Now, they will definitely get you to the ship. You are covered. If anything happens, they'll get you to the ship wherever it is. If you're running late, if your flights gets canceled, that's nice. However, you have 0 flexibility with anything else. So I don't recommend using that. However, if you are on a budget, it is a big savings sometimes. So just so that you're aware, you do get that benefit, but please check it out. Please talk to a travel agent. Be wary about it. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense. Those are 10 tips to help you plan and go on a better NCL cruise. If you have any tips, please put them below. Also, if you have any questions at any time, please feel free to ask them below or email us at jp@bitesizecruises.com, bite with a Y. We are here to help. If you have questions, we don't charge for anything. Just send us emails. We're happy to read those and help you with anything we can. Thanks, everyone. Hope you have a good day, and we will see y'all tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.